I'm Noel Morada from the Asia Pacific Center for Responsibility to Protect, based in Brisbane, Australia. I've been working there for the past 14 years. I was formerly also a professor of political science at the University of the Philippines before I moved to Australia in 2009 November. So the presentation I had today had to do with the challenges of implementing responsibility to protect. And I identified some of the important things related to how do you advance the implementation of R2P at the domestic and regional level. My main argument is that R2P, just like any international norm, does not automatically cascade from the top down to the domestic and regional level. So you need to build constituencies or local champions of R2P. And the way to do that is to build partnerships with different human rights advocates, civil society groups, educators, even students. One way of our outreach program is to engage young students who have not heard about R2P, but they can relate because it's a new, political norm that has been related to atrocity crime prevention and response. I think I mentioned this in my presentation that my first work on R2P was way back in first quarter of 2005, because I was commissioned by the Canadian Embassy in Manila to do some kind of a workshop series in Southeast Asia to sort of get perceptions and interactions from Southeast Asian stakeholders about the ICES report, the 2001 ICES report on responsibility to protect. And based on that workshop series I did in, I think, about 5 Southeast Asian countries, including Vietnam and Cambodia, Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia. What I did was to gather the way that many stakeholders have appreciated many of the things contained in the ICES report in 2001. And from that series of workshops, I wrote a report. And I think if I remember it correctly, it's about drawing a roadmap to implementing and promoting R2P in Southeast Asia. And from then on, I was recruited in Brisbane. They had set up the APR2P, Asia Pacific Center for R2P, in 2008. We launched the center in Bangkok. And then from then on, my work has been related to developing country programs, building constituencies, capability training. Well, I think it's part of what they have recognized about my work in Southeast Asia on building constituencies. Some of the Korean participants actually visited our center in 2012 while I was in Brisbane, and they brought up the issue of the plight of North Koreans and the issue of human rights in North Korea. And from then on, the interaction I had as far as Korea is concerned is that I was here during I think it's 2016 if I'm not mistaken, when the Korean Foreign Ministry hosted the global network of R2P focal points. That was the first, I think, big event co-hosted by the Foreign Ministry of Korea with the Global Center for R2P, and I participated and also made a presentation in a panel. The second opportunity came when, I think, if I remember it correctly, also in 2016, the ambassador, I forgot his name, he presented this afternoon as chair of the session. He invited me to deliver a lecture on R2P. It's at the Korean Diplomatic Academy, and they invited many participants from Southeast Asia, Foreign Ministry, I think mid-level officers. So it's an opportunity for me to deliver a lecture, I think for about 2 days on R2P. Yeah, and then this is the third interaction I have here in Korea. Well, the biggest one, of course, is me having to really experience the emotional, the personal testimonies of the North Korean defectors. To be honest, I love also Korean soap opera, and I happen to have watched Crash Landing on You.
It's my favorite.
And listening to the music this evening and the testimony, to me, it's a real Crash Landing on You via Cambodia. And I was touched by the gratitude in the song that was rendered. And I think this is something that a lot of people in the region do not really understand or have heard about how many North Korean defectors are now here in South Korea, and it's a continuing concern. And so I think this is one area where I think we can build awareness. And I've been trying to convince the president of PSCORE to really continue this work. And I've been encouraging him, even after our meeting with the Minister of Korean Unification, that perhaps this is the platform that Korea can use to advance its own advocacy in the region. Because in Northeast Asia, there is no strong advocate. And even in the larger context of East Asia, we need a leader that will really advocate. And that's why I also suggested that maybe you can have this annual international conference on R2P covering other issues where the not just the North Korean human rights issue, but also the Uyghur and all the others who are trying to find a place where they can be safe. And of course, in my presentation, I highlighted the Myanmar case, a lot of refugees, and the issue of transnational crimes emerging. And of course, there's a commonality about mass atrocity crimes being committed, and these are what we call in the R2P language protecting vulnerable populations. They need protection, whether you are a defector, you are a stateless person, and you are just fleeing violence, and you need to have some help from neighboring countries. Oh, that's a very tough question. But I would still say that the most important pillar, and I take it from the presenter from Slovenia that said, actually you can see prevention in all the three pillars in different ways. And what is important is to, as far as protecting the defectors are concerned, that there should be some kind of encouragement for, let's say, Korea to do diplomacy at the regional level for many of the countries where the defectors are going first, in transit, if they can be protected. That is one way that I see it. Because, of course, Pillar 3 and particularly the more coercive measures is not likely to pass in the UN Security Council. And I think it's going to be much more complicated because of the what you call the high politics security issue in North Korea. And when you talk about high politics, this is the traditional, realist approach. And we understand that Pyongyang, the leadership in Pyongyang, is using its nuclear capability as a way of a bargaining chip, But at the same time, we should not forget that human rights issue is very real. And sometimes when you talk about North Korea, it's always the nuclear issue, the traditional security issue that is being highlighted, and forgetting that there's also human security issue that is also, I think, personally, is more important.